Good morning, good evening, everyone. My name is Anderson, and welcome back to the another lesson with me. So, today we're going to continue studying the present perfect tense. This is the part 4, and on this part, we're going to practice present perfect tense with various quizzes. Already. Okay, very good. Before we move on to solving questions, I want to quickly recap with what we learned before from the part 1 to part 3. Okay, very good. Let's start comparing with the past simple and present perfect here. So, the past simple, as I said before, previously, past simple, it's just a past, right? What does it mean? It happened, that event, anything happened in the past and it's finished. So that's why we use this past simple. So we use past simple tense for describing finished events in the past. So, for example, Mr. Howard went to New York 5 years ago. So we know that Mr. Howard went to New York 5 years ago. So definitely it's a past, right? So let's draw a really simple timeline here. So 5 years ago, Mr. Howard went to New York, right? So what about the present? Where is Mr. Howard at the moment, in the present? We don't know. We don't know where Mr. Howard is in the present right now. So that's why we use the past simple. Okay? Then what about the present perfect tense? The present perfect is the result of the present perfect is combined with the past simple tense and the present simple tense, which means it's connected with the past. Present perfect is not about the past present simple. It's connected with the past. So, we use some present perfect tense when we mention about the past events and actions, okay? But it's still true and relevant in the present. So, past simple was just talking about we use the past simple tense just to describe a finished events. However, in comparison to that, present perfect tense can be used when we describe the past events, but is still true and still relevant in the present. So, let's have a look at the example. Same situations. So, Mr. Howard has gone to New York. Has gone. Yeah? This is called the past perfect form. So, quickly write a simple timeline. So, Mr. Howard went to New York and has gone. It means Mr. Howard is still in New York now. So, he went to New York in the past. However, he is still there. The fact is still true. Good. Then how do we form the present perfect tense? We form present perfect tense like this. Have plus the past participle. Has plus past participle is based on the subject. I have, you have, we have, they have, he, she, it has. Okay, then what about the name, like Howard? We regard name as a third person singular, singulars, so that's why we use has when it comes to name. So have participle, past participle. Then what about the negative statement? We use not. So have not pp, has not pp. We also can shorten it, like haven't and hasn't. So repeat after me. Haven't, haven't, hasn't, hasn't. Very good. And how do we use the present perfect tense? We use present perfect tense in a number of situations with useful adverbs such as just, yet, never, ever, and etc. So first of all, number one, when we describe completed events, but recently completed events, we can use present perfect tense with the adverb just. So for example, the taxi left a minute ago. Well, it's a past, right? But it's a recent completed event. It's recently finished. So we can use past perfect, right? So, the taxi has just left. When we talk about the taxi which has already left, in the present we can say, the taxi has just left, by adding the adverb just. What about the uncompleted events? Uncompleted event, which means you did not finish that event or the action. And we add yet. Yet refers to a negative statement. So, for example, like this: my mom has not finished cooking yet. So she is still cooking in the present. So we add yet here. Okay, in the end. My mom has not finished cooking yet. What about number 3? When you describe when you describe an experience, which has not happened in your life until now, we can say present. We can use present perfect tense with the adverb never. For example, Kate is still there in the present, right? So when she talks about her experience, but when that experience does not exist in her life so far, we can say has never been, has never. Why? Because it has never happened before. So, even in the past and so far until now, she has never been to Paris. So she has no experience about the trip to Paris. Very good. Then what about when we ask some questions about the experience at any time? We also can use the present perfect tense. Then how do we use it? We make the sentence with the present perfect tense into a question form. So as I have taught you before, have and has first, and then the subject, and then the ever. Subject plus PP. But asking questions about the experience at any time so far in the person's life, we use ever. Okay? So, have you ever worked in a restaurant in your life? So, this person asks a question about their working experience, right? Have you ever worked in a restaurant in your life? And if you say, yes, I have, then you have that experience. And if you say, no, I have not, which means you have no experience. So we can say, no, I have never worked in a restaurant. You can say like this. I have never worked in a restaurant. So, okay. Very good. So, next one is we can use the present perfect tense when we describe the events or facts which is ongoing. So, continuing facts or events. We can use present perfect tense in this context, but we add the preposition for and then the adverb since. So, for example, Mrs. Kim has studied law for 10 years. So, which means Mrs. Kim started studying law in the past, and she is still studying law. But that has been 10 years. 10 years. So she is still studying law, and it has been 10 years. So when you want to specify the period, we use for. So, for example, my mom and dad has married for 20 years. My mom and dad have married together for 20 years. Like that. Or Michael has written his book for 1 year. Like this. Then what about when you want to specify the point of that time? We use since. So Mrs. Kim has studied law she started studying law since 2010 in the past, and she's still studying. Can you feel the difference? Very good. For is for the period, yeah? Since is for the specific point of time. Very good. Now what about the results? So we use a present perfect tense when you want to describe the finished event, which you have that result, and it is still true in the past, still true in the present. So, example, very easy example. Jane has finished her homework. and it's still true, and it's still finished. Okay, so what about this one? Justin has changed in his daily routine, and it's still true. Justin has changed his daily routine, and he's doing that changed routine until now. Do you get it? Very good. Now let's move on to the quiz. So number 1, pick the correct explanation about the present perfect tense. And we have 4 descriptions about the present perfect tense, and only one is the correct explanation. So let's have a look. A. Present perfect tense describes the finished event in the past. Okay. Number B. Present perfect tense describes the event that is happening right now. Present perfect tense describes the finished event but relevant to the present. Present perfect tense describes the earlier action of the past simple action. Which would be the correct explanation for the present perfect tense? Pause the video and solve the question. Okay, the answer would be C. So let's start to find out why C is the correct explanation. So, present perfect tense describes the finished event in the past, right? In the past. And it's still relevant and it's still connected to the present. So what about the other explanations here? A. Present perfect tense describes the finished event in the past, which means, simply saying, it's a past simple tense. Finished event in the past, which means it's just past. We describe the finished event in the past. There's no connection with the present, it just passed. So it was a past simple. So A is the incorrect explanation. What about B? Present perfect tense describes the event that is happening right now. Well, it's partially correct, but when you have a look here, so it describes the event that is happening right now, but there is no connection with the past. Yeah, the present perfect tense, the event has to be happen in the past. So B is also incorrect. And B is actually, it's a present simple continuous. I am working, I am writing a book, I am eating a breakfast, like this. Okay, then what about D here? So present perfect tense describes the earlier action of the past simple action. It looks very familiar. Because do you remember the past perfect tense? This is the explanation of the past perfect tense. So past perfect tense, just to remind you guys, we use the past perfect tense when you describe the earlier action of the past simple action. And I had used that laptop when I was working. Okay, just like more past. Okay. Very good. So C is the correct answer, everyone. Okay, number 2. So change the verbs in the bracket into the present perfect tense. So A. Justin see this film. And we need to change this verb form into the present perfect tense. So, do you remember? Yes. Justin is the subject, and this is the third personal singular, right? There, we cannot use have. We need to use has, right? Has. Okay, has, and then we need to use the past participle form of see is seen, has seen this film. Okay, very good. So Justin has seen this film. So Justin watched this film in the past, and even in the present, and it's still true, and it's still relevant. Very good. Now what about here? Justin finished his homework. So Justin has the past participle, just, the adverb just, finished. Okay, the past participle form of finish. So Justin has just finished his homework, which means he finished his homework very recently in the past, and it's still true in the present. Very good. So now let's move on to number C here. Harry lose his key. This is the base form of lose, right? So Harry lose his key to his room, and we need to change this verb into the present perfect tense. So Harry has lose, lost, lost, lose, lost, lost, right? Has lost his key. So what does this mean? So has he found his key? No, not yet, because we used the present perfect tense here. So Harry lost his key, and the fact is still true. The Harry has not found his key yet. So the answer is has lost. The Harry has lost his key to his room. Harry has lost his key to his room. Very good. Now let's have a look at D. My uncle smoked 40 cigarettes a day for 40 years. And he is a doctor. Wow. So, for 40 years, which means it's a period, right? From the past to until now. So, we need to change this form into the present perfect tense, right? So, my uncle started to smoke in the past, and he still smokes his cigarettes. 40 cigarettes a day. So we need to use present perfect tense. So my uncle only one, singular, third person singular. My uncle has smoked, right? The past participle form of smoke is smoked, ed. So has smoked. My uncle has smoked 40 cigarettes a day for 40 years. It's the period, and he's a doctor, and it's still true. Very good. Now let's move on. Number 3. Question 3. So change the verbs below into a correct present perfect tense. So here's the simple dialogue. A. Could I borrow that book sometime? It looks really interesting. Sure. And he or she says, B says, sure, you can borrow it now. I just finished it. So B started to read this book and he recently finished it. So he can borrow it, right? He can lend it. He can lend a book. So it happened in the recent past and it's still true. Okay, so we can use present perfect tense. I, the first person singular, I have just, the past participle form of finished. I have just finished it, which means I have just finished it in the past. And it's still true, and I can lend you one. So don't worry. I have just finished it. I have just finished it. Okay? Very good. Where's number 2? So A, why isn't Ben at work today? So Ben is not here. Why isn't Ben at work today? B says he's in hospital. He break his leg. Okay, so Ben broke his leg in the past. And it's still true in the present. So we need to use present perfect tense, right? So he is the third singular, right? He has the past participle form of break. So break is a base form. Broke is the past simple. Broken is the past participle. So the answer is he has broken. He has broken his leg. So his leg is not okay until now, and it's still true. So he has broken his leg. Okay? Very good. So you always need to ask a question to yourself. So when you use present perfect tense, you need to ask, so has this event finished? If it's yes, you need to go to past simple and specify when did that finish. But when that event has not finished and is still true in the present, then you need to go to present perfect. Very good. Okay, number 3. So do you know Mary Johnson in the sales department? Do you know Mary Johnson's in the sales department? And B says, I know the name, but I never meet her. I never meet her. So, until now, this person never met Mary Johnson, and until now, and it's still true. And we need to use the past perfect we need to use present perfect in this sentence, right? So, I have never. What did I say? We use never when we describe some experience, right? Experience. I have never, but no experience. Okay, I have never met her. Which means I've never met her until now. From the past until now, I have never met her. No experience of meeting her. Okay, very good. The answer was I have never met her. Remember, we also can make it short. I have, I've, I've never met her. I've never met her. I've never met her. Very good. Now let's move on to number 4. A, ask a questions. How long have you two known each other? B says, Sophie and I know each other since we were at school together. So, Sophie and I knew each other from the past, and they know each other, and they're still friends until now, and it's still true. Then we need to use the present perfect tense, right? So, Sophie and I. Sophie and I. It seems like a plural. Yeah? It seems like a singular, but we need to use plural. So, two. So, Sophie and I have, right? Sophie and I have. No. This is the base form of no, right? So, no. Base form, knew. So we need to silence this K, knew. The past simple and the past participle is known. Have known. Sophie and I have known each other since we were at school. Since. Remember, since we use since when we specify the specific point of time since we were at school together. What about for? We use for the period. Since the point. Very good. Now let's have a look at the number 5 here. A says, haha, look, there's a hole in my suit. And B says, you have that suit for more than 10 years. Isn't it time to get a new one? You have that suit for more than 10 years. Isn't it time to get a new one? So let's draw a timeline here. So this speaker A got the suit in the past, right? Got the suit in the past. And he still wears that shirt. He still wears that suit. Okay. Which means it's still true and he's still wearing it. Then, in this context, we need to use the present perfect tense, right? So we need to use have, right? So you have the past participle of have is had. I have had that suit for more than 10 years. So have is the base form. Had is the past simple. Had is the past participle. So don't be confused with this one. It's a bit weird, but it's fine. So just try to think that I've had the suit. I've had the suit. But normally in a conversation, we don't usually pronounce you have had. No, we don't like that. We don't like that because it's too repetitive. So we make it short, you've had. You've had. Not you have had. So you've had. You have that suit for more than 10 years and it's still true and you're still wearing it. So isn't it time to get a new one? So that would be the answer. So the answer is you have had the suit for more than 10 years. Okay? So that was the present perfect tense. Very good. So we have this answer here, so please have a look after this lesson. So well done. This is the end of the lesson of present perfect. Well done, guys, and I'll see you guys on the next lesson. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.